Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Ryan with another edition of Clutch Sports Talk. Happy Wednesday to you guys. I'm going to talk about some NBA going on here. Recently, the Lakers just won the NBA Finals in Game 6 against the Miami Heat. Now, do they have an easy go at it next year? I don't know. I'll talk about all the teams that I think may have a chance or maybe don't have a chance. I want to talk about the unfortunate news about Dak Prescott, him suffering an injury with the Dallas Cowboys. What does the future have in store for him and the franchise? And lastly, the Black Lives Matter movement in sports. What did we learn? What was gained? And what really happened? But hey, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is Clutch Sports Talk. Let's go. Hey, what's up, man? Welcome back. It's Clutch Sports Talk with me, your host, Ryan Flowers. Thank you for joining me in another great episode. It's Wednesday, so you know what time it is, man. I got some topics that I want to go over with you guys today. I kind of segued to that into with the intro. I want to talk about the Lakers. You know, they just wrapped up the finals. But before I get into my topics, just a few little housekeeping notes. Hey, if you guys like what you see, you like listening to me, you like the information I'm giving out to you, go ahead, look me up. The link is in my Instagram bio for YouTube. It's Clutch Sports Talk. My Instagram is clutch.sports.talk. And when you go on YouTube, because I know you got YouTube, everyone has YouTube, go ahead, subscribe to me, hit that notification link. It gets you updated all the time when I come out with new things in regards to Clutch Sports or my other segment called Film Session, in which I dive into the quarterbacks or any type of other NFL teams or players, and I break down from a coach's perspective how things work and how they are. Another housekeeping note, I was just recently added as one of the sports writers for lksportswriting.com. So I'm going to be working on a few articles here shortly. So you go ahead and look that up for lksportswriting.com. I'm so pleased to be a part of that. It's an up and coming sports blog. So I'm moving, I'm doing things. Things are happening for me. So appreciate all the love and support, man. It's because of you guys. I do this every Wednesday. I love doing it. You guys keep listening, and I'm going to keep giving you guys great content for you to watch on YouTube or on the LK Sports Writing link as well. So without further ado, man, let's just jump into sports talk, man. So check this out. So the Lakers just recently wrapped up the NBA Finals in Game 6. They beat the Miami Heat 4-2. Now it was a runaway, which we kind of expected because the Heat had a valiant Game 5 in which Jimmy Butler went for 40 points. He was exhausted. We all saw that picture of him leaning over, like, I don't know, like some type of partition the NBA had set up there, just exhausted. He gave it all he could give. The rest of the team did their best, but it just wasn't enough to beat LeBron and AD and their dominance. So with that said, moving forward now, what's going to happen next season? Now, there are going to be some teams that maybe digress, or some teams that are going to stay right where they're at, or some teams may make another jump and try to contest the Lakers. But before I give you my kind of early on favorites to who I think will win the actual championship next season in 2021, yes, 2021, yeah, because we're almost there. But I kind of want to talk about the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. So there are a few teams that stick out to me from the Western Conference, in no particular order. So number one, I got the Lakers. Of course, you got AD, LeBron. That's a solid core that you can get. Now, the rest of the Lakers supporting cast stepped up big. KCP, Danny Green, he got torched a little bit. Well, not a little bit. He got torched a lot on social media for his inability to hit three-pointers, which why essentially he was even added to the roster. Kuzma kind of got roasted a little bit, but they still were able to win the championship despite those two not really performing at a level that most fans or most NBA aficionados thought they could perform. Guys like Alex Caruso stepped in, did a hell of a job in the finals and throughout the playoffs. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Next team, Golden State Warriors. Yeah, you can't forget about them. This was a very throwaway season for them. You know, they had Steph Curry was hurt, Klay Thompson's hurt, KD left. All they pretty much had was Draymond Green. He had suffered a few injuries himself, but guess what? Klay will be back 100%. Steph Curry will be back 100%. Draymond will be back 100%. They still have Steve Kerr. And they got, I believe, the number 2 pick in the draft. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go out and just be the Golden State Warriors of old, but what I will say is that they're going to be way better than most people think. And losing KD is it's big. I get it. But they won championships before him, and I think they'll be able to bounce back and maybe make a little noise coming out of the West. The other team, of course, the Clippers. Now, Doc Rivers is gone. There's talks of trading Paul George to somewhere in Brooklyn, probably to the Nets. But let's just say right now, as the roster as it stands still, they were still the number 2 team in the West. And they probably should have made the finals. They should have for sure made the Western Conference final. Now it's a question whether or not would they have been able to defeat the Lakers. I don't know. We can't. It's hearsay now because it's over. But that's still a strong team. They still have the reigning 6th man of the year. They still have Lou Williams. Now they might make some other pieces, but I'm talking about right now as their roster currently stands. This is what it is. I think that they still have a lot of talent. I still think that they're a really good team. They're a really deep team. Now, will some coaching moves make a difference? Who knows? It's yet to be seen. But I still have the Clippers as one of the top teams in the West. Now, the Denver Nuggets, they took a huge leap. Now, will they be able to carry what they did over into 2021, what they did in the bubble? Jamal Murray played his butt off. They overcame game 7s, being down 3-1 a couple times in the playoffs. 2 game 7s, actually, but playing in a bubble, playing actually in a regular type of scenario, will they do it again? I still think that they're a piece away. I do like Jamal Murray stepping up. Jokic is still a solid player, but they're still one of those teams that probably could be in contention. I don't have Houston on the list. I just feel like that's just is what it is. I think it's time to blow that up. D'Antoni's gone. Russell Westbrook probably needs to be traded. They're not going to get rid of James Harden. That team really underachieved to my estimation. It really wasn't a really constructed team, a really great constructed team. So I don't even have them in my list. The last team I have in the West on my list is the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic is a star. He's one of those other guys that played really well. I mean, he played well even before the bubble situation, but he showed what he can do. He made, all NBA defensive players look like guys that play in the YMCA. He made little Kawhi Leonard not look good. Paul George couldn't stop him. Honestly, I felt like the Dallas Mavericks probably could have beat the Clippers in their matchup, but that first game, I think it was, Porzingis got thrown out on a technicality. He got thrown out. They ended up they losing the game, and then he got hurt. Luka carried that team. He is definitely a bona fide star. Now, if Porzingis can stay healthy and maybe they add a piece here or there, maybe the Dallas Mavericks have what it takes, but it's still going to be hard for them coming out of the West. I don't have Portland in my top list just because I feel like we've seen Portland already before. Damian Lillard is a monster, but CJ McCollum is he's a nice player, but I don't think he's really a legit number 2. He's not as consistent as you would want him to be. Now, moving over to the East, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they got ran out of the playoffs because, of course, they didn't have any of their stars participate in the bubble, or, I think they were swept. Now you got KD and Kyrie. The only thing with them, they both suffer from injuries now. KD's got coming off that Achilles. How is he going to respond to that? And Kyrie is always hurt. Seems like every year now something's going on with him, and he hasn't been able to win without LeBron. Now he's paired up with KD, another type quote unquote NBA champion with an asterisk, but we'll have to wait and see. But if everything is healthy, that team will probably be one of the best teams in the East, if not the number 1 seed in the East, barring no significant injuries or time missed by either one of their superstars. Milwaukee Bucks will always be there. Giannis will come back probably on a 1-2 year deal. They're going to be great in the regular season, as we've always seen in the last few seasons, and they're going to go ahead and probably choke in the playoffs. But they will be one of the top teams in the East. There's no denying that. The Boston Celtics, they're another solid team as well. Jason Tatum played really exceptional in the bubble, in the playoffs. Kemba Walker kind of concerns me a little bit. Every now and then, he's not as consistent as I would want him to be or see. Gordon Hayward is another injury liability. It seems like he's always injured now since he came over to Boston. But if he's there and gets the reps that he needs to get, Boston will be a tough team. The Miami Heat, I got to give them some type of love with Jimmy Butler coming back. Tyler Hero stepped up in a major way. Will he be able to kind of reciprocate that season moving on into 2021? That will depend on the success of the Miami Heat moving forward. But Jimmy Butler, kudos to him and what he was able to do. Coach Eric Spoelstra did a hell of a job. I never was really too high on him, but now I've seen him take several teams to the playoffs without LeBron now. He does get the vote in my book that he is one of the top coaches in the NBA. Now, I'll give him some credit now. I probably should have given him credit a long time ago. I was wrong for that. And the last team out of the East is Toronto. Toronto is also another solid team, but it will depend on what happens with Fred VanVleet. he will probably garner a lot of money from other teams throughout the league. You still have Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry. These are solid teams, but the thing with Toronto is that they don't have a legit star. And that's why they were able to win the NBA Finals with Kawhi, because he was that extra star player that can get them over the top. That's a good team. They're well coached. Nick Nurse I think he just won the coach of the year. He's a good coach, good organization, but it won't be enough. In the end, I do like Brooklyn. I mean, that's the easy pick. And I like the Lakers coming out of the West. And ultimately, I like the Lakers to win it all over again. Given the day and age, you hear all the pundits last season talking about this Lakers roster wasn't constructed to beat anybody. They were too big, no shooters, yada, yada, yada. But what the Lakers did show is that if you played solid defense, you have a chance. You definitely have a chance to win. And I think that's what happened with the whole Steph Curry era, the three-pointers, the small guys. Everyone forgot how to play really solid defense. And there's really no one that can match up in the NBA with them size for size, matchup for matchup for the most part in a 7-game series. You can beat them, you play on a Tuesday night here or a Friday night there. Yeah, you could beat them. But overall in a series, I just don't see LeBron losing to anyone other than like those all-star Golden State Warrior teams that he lost to in the recent finals that he had when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I think the Lakers will probably add a few more pieces, get rid of some pieces, but they have what it takes right now to repeat as champions. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not a lock, but that's the favorites right now moving forward in the NBA with them. Next season, the LA Lakers will probably be one of the top teams to repeat and bring home that championship again for the city of Los Angeles. So I ain't mad. I'm a Lakers fan, and I'm not just telling you guys that they're going to win because I'm a fanboy, because I don't roll like that. I'm just telling you these are the facts. And if you want to dispute me, that's great too. Always leave comments in below on the YouTube link or in my Instagram. We can always talk it out or hash it out, and we can just go from there. But the NBA is over for now. I don't think they've decided when they're going to reopen the season again for next year and how they're going to do it. Is it going to be in stadiums again? Or are they going to do a bubble? I will say kudos to the NBA for putting on that spectacular performance that they did as far as housing and bubbling everybody. Now the ratings wasn't really anything to talk about, obviously, because the matchup in the end just really wasn't anything that anybody really wanted to see, unless you were a Laker or a Heat fan. Really, no one really had any interest. That's just my opinion. And the numbers show that the ratings were down quite considerably in versus against the NFL when they played games against the NFL that day. But speaking of the NFL, I'm segueing next into Dak in Dallas. Unfortunately, Dak Prescott is lost for the year. For those of you who do not know or actually didn't see what happened, last Sunday against the New York Giants, I think in the third quarter, Dak Prescott went down with a compound fracture of his right ankle. He is gone. He's lost for the rest of the season. Andy Dalton will take his place. And I'll kind of touch base on that here in just a second. But first, I'm going to say something personal about Dak. I said this on my live last week, Sunday, when it all happened. He's a good dude, man. I don't know him personally, but just from what I gather, the respect that he got from around the league, I'm not sure he gets, if it's someone else, someone gets that same respect. Maybe like a Russell Wilson, guys like that. But I'm not saying he's like an angel. He's the best dude of all time. But, man, I think people really love him. He does take a lot of crap from a lot of people. And now those people will have to see, especially Cowboys fans. A lot of Cowboys fans do not like Dak Prescott for whatever reason. But he's a good dude. I wish him the best. Prayers up to Dak, man. Number 4, that's what we do for Dak. But he'll be able to bounce back. He's a tough dude. A lot's happened to him in the last year. His brother committing suicide. He lost his mom to cancer while he was in college away. So he's been able to battle back. He was, beaten up in spring break a few years ago in Daytona, I believe it was. His recruitment trail just was, a disaster. All these things that have basically molded him to this point, it will probably help him move forward, whether it was with the Dallas Cowboys or not. So, but his contract. So he's in a contract year. The Cowboys actually franchise tagged him. He's making about 35 million this year. So he will get some money, nothing long-term, nothing secure. And that's what makes it kind of crazy is that he held out. He didn't hold out. He held out in the aspect as far as he didn't want to sign something that he didn't feel that he deserved or earned. Cowboys wanted a 5-year deal. He wanted a 4-year deal. He ends up getting hurt. Now he doesn't have that guaranteed money. I mean, he is guaranteed the franchise tag money, and more than likely he will be franchise tagged again next year because I feel like the Cowboys do want to keep him around. Other teams will garner for his, attention, and because he will be a free agent, and they're going to make a push. But I think deep down, he's a Cowboy. He will always be a Cowboy for now, for as long as he would, as long as he can, the Cowboys will have him in his heart and in his mind. He will be a Dallas Cowboy. But the other thing too is that it all depends too on the money situation. Now the Cowboys will pay him, but how much will they pay him now? Because here are a few things to consider. One, he's coming off an injury. Okay. Now, like I said before, just a few seconds ago, the Cowboys had laid out an offer. They wanted more length in the offer as far as 5 years. He wanted 4, but now he's coming off an injury. How much long-term money do they want to, have tied up to Dak Prescott? They paid just about everybody else on the team who suck right now. But they didn't offer him the amount of money that he wanted. So that leaves the question now. So number one, what's going to happen, right? So Andy Dalton will take over. So if I'm Dak, it's kind of like you don't want Andy Dalton to ball out, because why? If he balls out, then it just makes him look more expendable, and that anyone can come in there and do exactly what Dak Prescott does. Now, I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or any one of those guys, but he does bring a certain type of cachet, that certain type of like that it factor. Andy Dalton, to all his credit, was with the Bengals, didn't probably have the array of weapons that he has now, the talent. So Andy Dalton may ball out. Who knows? He's in a weird situation too, because he didn't really receive a lot of offers to be a number one guy for any team all out of the 32 teams. He's playing for a job too, as well, not just to be a backup. I think he's going to relish this role. Now, I'm not going to get into whether or not he's going to ball out or not. I'm just saying that if he plays well, that hurts Dak's marketability. Now, if he doesn't play well, then that helps Dak, because now they're like, well, now you guys need me. And we do need Dak Prescott. I mean, I like Andy Dalton. He's a really good backup, but at the end of the day, Dak Prescott is younger. He just has it. I mean, he just has something that we need in Dallas, but we'll just have to see. Now, he may go somewhere else. Dak may choose, well, you know what? You guys are not give me what I want. He may entertain other suitors. And believe me, there are a lot of teams out there that would probably use the services of a Dak Prescott. But I will say this, it would have to be a very specific team with the right type of leadership, coaching ability, and scheme and all that to work with him. He's not that type of dude. Well, maybe he is. I don't know. From what we saw, he can swing the ball. He was throwing over 400 yards the last 3 or 4 games. But I'll say this, and this is what segues me into the next point that I have to make. I'm not sure that Dak or any other quarterback, including Andy Dalton, can overcome the struggles of the leadership, the management of the Dallas Cowboys, aka meaning Jerry Jones and his son. Now, the Cowboys, yes, a lot of people say that they're overrated, the most talked about team, and yes, they are. They have been overrated for quite some time now. Now, people do talk about them because they're news. They're news. It's a circus over there most of the time. The owner goes on the radio every Tuesday, talks something about the coaches or the players. He's just all over the place. So with all that dysfunction, a guy like Dak, even though he is very skillful, he is a great leader. He's a man among men. I don't know if it's enough for him to overcome the shadow cast by Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is a character himself. He is a Hall of Famer, and he's still alive and still owning and general managing this team. And that poses a problem. I will give them credit. They've hit it well for the most part on some draft picks, but that's probably more importantly due to his son, and the talent scout coach there. I forgot his name. Will McClay, I think, who's there in Dallas. They've drafted really good guys. It's not really a science. It's hit or miss, but for the most part, they've been able to do well because there is talent on the team. Now, the Mike McCarthy hiring is not looking great right now. This looks like another yes guy to Jerry, who will not oppose him. And then he goes ahead and hires his best friend, Mike Nolan, to be the defensive coordinator. That's not working out. And we just don't know. I just don't think Dak has the Patrick Mahomes type of talent. And let's just be real about Patrick Mahomes. Even Russell Wilson, He is in the right scenario. He is in the right situation. Would we be talking about Dak Prescott like Pat Mahomes if Dak Prescott was in Kansas City with Andy Reid and with the same amount of talent and weapons and the scheme? It'd probably be different. Dak Prescott would probably be doing the same thing, maybe not all the things, but he would be up there as well. But because Dak has had to deal with coaching like Jason Garrett, now Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, he's had to deal with a lot of things and some things that are just outside of football as well too. With your owner being one of the most prominent owners in all of sports, not speaking out on the whole Black Lives Matters issue, all these things, Dak has persevered. He's come to play, hasn't said much, does his thing. Now we're going to see. But in the end, I just don't think that he can overcome that, or anybody can overcome that right now. It's too much for anyone to overcome that, because a lot of it has nothing to do with football. And that's probably the reason why you probably got to pay Dak extra, because of that extra stuff that a lot of people would not probably want to deal with. But haters are going to hate now. I know a lot of people, especially Cowboy fans, I'm in chat rooms, I see things. They're happy to see him. Well, they're not happy that he's hurt, but they're happy that he's not playing. And Andy Dalton is going to be getting the snaps now. They think Andy Dalton is going to come on and just light the world on fire. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But we will miss Dak Prescott, man. He's a good quarterback. He gets a lot of respect from other teams, man. And a lot of fans don't really understand what he brings to the game. There's certain intangibles that you can't scout for: heart, leadership. Now is he a vocal leader that we see on TV? No, I don't see that. Maybe he is in the locker room, but I hope that he comes back. And matter of fact, I know he will come back, and he will do his thing, and he will get his money. He will be paid. He will be paid. Fortunate for him, it wasn't like a serious injury where it's gonna affect his mobility, and it's just his ankle. It'll bone will heal. He'll be ready to go. But for other quarterbacks out there that like to run, a la Lamar Jackson, dude, he's one hit like that away from being just like Dak Prescott. And the sad thing about him is if he loses his legs or his ability to be that mobile, that's it for Lamar Jackson. Unfortunately, he is a runner and a thrower, not a thrower that can run. So that's where I'll leave it at that. But man, prayers up to Dak, man. I hope everybody, is sending their prayers up to him. He needs it. He's a strong dude, man. Believe me, he's still gonna make his money. He still's got his chunky Campbell soup. He still got the Greek, the Dannon yogurt. He's got the firm mattress or whatever the hell it's called. He's gonna be all right. He will secure the bag eventually one day, whether it's with the Dallas Cowboys or somebody else. I hope it's with the Cowboys. But if he goes, man, hey, for those of you who know me, know that I like teams. I don't really follow the players. I like teams. I don't buy a lot of jerseys, but he is one of the jerseys that I do own because I think that much of him as a person overall. So shout out to Dak, man. Hope you get better, bro. Maybe you see this one day. Shout me out. But anyway, the last topic here that I have for you guys today is the Black Lives Matter movement in sports. Now, when all this craziness was going on with the world, with the police brutality, everything that was happening with, African American men being murdered, being killed in broad daylight or in the nighttime, whatever, in public, the BLM stepped up. A lot of protests took place. Companies, Fortune 500 companies got involved. Sports got involved. The NBA was heavily embedded with the Black Lives Matter. They had it plastered all over the court. Players had Black Lives Matter on the back of their jerseys or any type of other like slogans or sayings. The players or people that were victims, like a Breonna Taylor. In women WNBA, same thing as well. The NFL, baseball, hockey did a little bit of something. Some tennis players overseas in Europe, Premier League. But here's the thing, man, and people are going to look at this and they're probably going to say, well, you're hating, you're not for the cause. I'm for the cause, man. I'm definitely for the cause. I don't think any innocent individual should be murdered because they were pulled over. Now, there are things that do happen, and there are repercussions for your actions. And their consequences on how you choose to get pulled over. But that's something totally separate. I won't get into that. The point and what I'm trying to make is that what was gained? What did anything change noticeably that we know that's making the world better? Are cops policing better? Or are people being more respectful? Did anything change? And let's think about that for a second. Let's pause. And the answer to that is no. I don't think anything really happened. We've been protesting, and I said this for years now. And I'm not. It's not that I'm against protesting. I'm not really. I'm just not like excited about it. Now, I did not involve myself in any protesting. I know friends and families that were all about that, but me myself, I'm just like, we've been doing that. People have protested for years, and nothing really happens. And what really kind of turned me off with the whole protesting thing was what happened, right? I think it was during the playoffs. The NBA players, I think the Bucks decided not to play a game, and then the rest of the league, the rest of the players like, yeah, we're not playing this game. Kenny Smith on NBA on TNT, he walked off the stage and then was back the next night, and then the players were like literally back the next 2 days. So to me, that was their chance. And when I say by their chances, that was their opportunity to seize power and control, because the networks have the power. They got the money, but the players are the ones participating on the court. If you felt that deeply, then why come back and play the games? What did skipping one game that was made up anyway do anything? Now, it looked good. It was a feel-good story. Everybody had their black fists up, and everybody was pro-black and this and that. And I'm not against all that. But what I'm saying, what are we actually doing? People are asking for equality. Well, let's be specific. What type of equality? Because last time I checked, minorities, mainly African Americans, can attend schools. They can do all kinds of things, right? I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not perfect. There is a system. There is some flaws to the system. But when you see athletes get up there and they're protesting, they're doing all these things, but they have things to lose. And when it comes down to their bottom line, they're not willing to lose anything. And for me, that's what really offends me as a consumer, as someone who isn't a millionaire. I have things that I can lose. I can't show up to my job and be like, you know what? Another black man was killed in another city yesterday. I'm not working today or tomorrow. I'm walking off. And they're not, my job's not going to be like, oh, well, okay, we'll pay you. Don't worry about it. No, you can't do that. And that's not the real world. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that the leagues like the NBA, which is a very predominantly black association, and this is my take, and I'm going to wrap this up here, but this is my take on this. I felt like it was more of a dog and pony show. They did all this Black Lives Matter movement on the court, on the jerseys, the commercials, the entrances, all this stuff was more, it was premeditated. It was just to make people feel okay. That way they didn't get backlash. Now, if you look at all the other leagues, the NFL is predominantly black, but can you really notice anything about the NFL saying they support Black Lives Movement or Matter or anything like that? Not really. I mean, I think now maybe they may have gotten rid of it, but if you played close attention, on the back of the helmet, some of the players actually have like, we can do this, or some of the victims of some of the atrocities that have happened, or like Black Lives Matter on the bumper. The bumper is the back part of the helmet. And then on the end zones, it's on the back of the end zones, like, we can do this or something, like, I don't know what it says, but it's so discreet that you're not paying attention to it. And now with October being breast cancer month, I don't think anybody even notices it anymore. Like, so what did they do? I think they just kind of fed people some BS so that way they wouldn't receive backlash. And that goes to a lot of other companies as well, too. I don't think anybody really cares about Black Lives Matter like that. I think they care about their bottom line, and they don't want to get caught with the blowback. So they just did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We appreciate African Americans in the community. Well, guess what? You should appreciate everybody, not just African Americans. But yeah, if you want to be specific, yeah, okay, you should be appreciative of African Americans. That should have been happened already, not just because someone's getting shot in the streets. And I think sports just kind of, and it mixed over to sports. That's why ratings were down in the NBA, because no one wants to see all that. It's not real. It's not genuine. It's not legit. Because at the end of the day, if you want real social change, you got to be willing to give up certain things. And when those guys protested that one game and they sat out a day or two, they came back and played. It was like, what was that all about? What was it all about? Nothing. So no real change occurred, in my opinion. I don't think things will ever change, really, unless we as a community, and I know I'm getting off sports here, but as we as a community be more specific on what kind of change we want exactly, and how are we going about doing it. I watched a video a few weeks ago about some of the rules and laws and why certain things are and why justice isn't served for this group and that group. And a lot of it has to do with the Constitution. I'll try to find that link and put it down below. But there's a lot of things that need to be changed. And I get that. We have amendments. If you follow the government, we have amendments that are in place. But athletes that want to fake and pose to be activists, I'm not with that. And I'm not with that. Like, I'm a Lakers fan and I'm glad the Lakers won, but it didn't really feel like the Lakers won to me. It was weird. It was weird because I do like LeBron. I don't like some of the social activist stuff that he does because I feel like he does go back and forth. But overall, sports in general, what was gained? I don't really think anything. I mean, it was nice to see people kneel, I guess, but people been kneeling. It was nice to people putting the fist up. People been doing that. The slogans on the back, the networks doing little commercials. It was like, what are we doing? And so you have to ask yourself, don't worry about what they're doing. What are you doing in your own community? Are you helping yourself? Are you helping the people in your circle of influence? And that's what you have to focus on. And then the other thing was the voting too. Like, now, we got to go and vote. Like, okay, well, did you vote last time? Probably not. But all of a sudden now it's like, it's cool. It's like a cancel culture. Everything. It's a culture. Like, now it's happening. It's fast. It's like, oh, this is popular. Like, let's go and vote. Why? Okay, I don't know, because Patrick Mahomes said we need to go and vote. LeBron says we need to go to vote. Did they even vote the last election? Who knows? Maybe they did and maybe they not. But let's don't succumb to trends. You set your own trend. You do what you got to do in order to secure your bag and live your life, and you be happy. And that's that. But cool. But that's my time, everybody. I appreciate it. Sorry I had to go on a quick rant about that, but I always appreciate you guys tuning in. Be on the lookout for my next film session edition in regards to quarterbacks or defensive players, anything like that. But the segment's called Film Session. You can catch that on YouTube as well under my Clutch Sports Talk moniker. Also, look out for my articles on LK Sports Writing. That'll be in the mix here shortly. And follow me, please, on Instagram at clutch.sports.talk. And again, subscribe to me on YouTube. Get at me, hit that notifications. I appreciate you all. Leave any comments, concerns, any suggestions you have for the show. I'll be more than happy to respond back to you. But until then, everybody, this is Clutch Sports Talk with me, Ryan Flowers. Never settle till the work is done. You guys know what's up. Peace.